Hello everyone, it's your boy Cinema Dude, and welcome back, because today we are starting our rewatch of the Planet of the Apes trilogy. This is part 1 of the rewatch, and there will be 3 parts total to get prepared for Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. And today we start with a spoiler review of Rise. I just got done watching this movie again for the first time since like 3 years now, and I am pretty hyped for what I witnessed and what I went back to re-experience with this film. Now, warning, this might contain spoilers for the main movie. If you've not seen Rise of Planet of the Apes, it's a few years old now. Actually, it's like 10 years old, but just go back and check it out. Now, let's start with a movie recap to get you all freshened up. Now, we kick off the movie in the jungle where a bunch of apes are captured. Then we cut to our main character, scientist Will Rodman. Now, you may know him as Yo Little Goblin Jr. Okay, that don't matter. But we kick off with scientist Will Rodman experimenting on apes with a potential cure for Alzheimer's. With increased intelligence of apes, experimenting on the ape Bright Eyes. Now, Bright Eyes will later give birth to Caesar, which later becomes the Empire in the Planet of the Apes movies, but that doesn't matter right now. Next thing we know, Bright Eyes goes on a large rampage throughout the laboratory and ends up causing some danger to the humans. The humans, being confused, start asking questions about what's going on. Then, later, a lab scientist that works there discovers that Bright Eyes had a child and was in protective mode. This scientist's name is Franklin, and later in the series, he is known as Patient Zero, but that does not matter right now. Anyway, we get deeper into the movie, and he decides to take this little ape, the baby ape, home because Will Rodman does not want this ape to die. We cut to his home and we realize his grandfather has Alzheimer's, and that's why they're doing this. Will Rodman starts experimenting more on it and sees more increased intelligence in Caesar. Caesar later becomes slightly a kid to Will Rodman, and he gets far enough down the line to test this out on his grandfather who has Alzheimer's. Well, this cure does work for 5 years before it kicks back in later. After the Alzheimer's kicks back into the father character to Will Rodman, we get to see Caesar go on a big rampage and rage because the old man is getting hit by the neighbors. Caesar starts attacking the neighbors, and that forces them to call animal control on them. They go to the animal control, the ape facility that is holding them hostage. Caesar is no longer the alpha there and meets a new ape named Maurice. They both know sign language because Maurice was a circus orangutan, and obviously Caesar was smart growing up. So they try to see Caesar a few times, but they won't let them back in. Well, they start working on this cure for Alzheimer's, and Will Rodman decides to tell the scientist dude what it is. So they start experimenting on other chimps. The chimp they start experimenting goes by the name of Koba. Koba later gets experimented on, and it causes this disease to keep going, and the virus gets infected to the patient Franklin, who is also referred as to Patient Zero, as I said earlier in the video. Later, Caesar is tired of taking the crap from the people who are harshly abusing him back at the facility, so he ends up taking back, and having the apes roll over and beating this guy up when Caesar speaks for the first time, and is probably the most powerful moment in the entire Planet of the Apes franchise, is him yelling, "No!" But that doesn't matter. Well, actually it does. It plays a very pivotal role in the Planet of the Apes franchise. But yeah, I'm just yapping here. But anyway, as we continue, we get to see this virus spread, and Franklin's not been to work in a few days. Well, later, Caesar feels like escaping, so he releases the Alzheimer's cure all throughout the cages, making all the apes smart, and they go on a big rampage throughout the city to be free and go loose in Red Rocks. Later, Caesar does make up with Will Rodman after the great attack on the Golden Gate Bridge, and after the apes, well, take back over. They lose a few apes in the process in the character of Buck. Well, now they've crossed the bridge, they climb up to the top, and the movie ends right there. Yeah, and that's how the story goes, but let's go back and touch upon a few things that you missed from this film. This next portion of the video will contain spoilers for the rest of the trilogy. You have been warned. Caesar's death foreshadowed. Well, as we know in War of the Planet of the Apes, Caesar does end up dying. But here, going back and rewatching it, it makes it very clear that we have a heroic hero fall on the line. And it even sets it up like he's gonna die in this movie. There are multiple moments where Caesar makes these grave mistakes that he will later improve on in Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. And at the end of the movie, when he says goodbye to Will Rodman, that is like the final goodbye he will ever say to Will Rodman, because a lot of, even though we never see him again, fans often speculate that Will Rodman died from simian flu. And yeah, now that we're on that subject, let's talk about the simian flu. We talked about Franklin going home sick for a few days, but did we talk about him sneezing on the neighbor that later called the animal control on Caesar? No, we really did not talk about that, because this causes a lot of issue. The post-credit scene in the movie is the neighbor getting on a flight because he's a flight attendant. Well, he is sick. When we see blood drip on the floor, it later goes to the rest of the world, causing what is known as the simian flu. Caesar says it best in Dawn of the Planet of the Apes when he says, humans destroyed each other. Which, I mean, really they did. It was really the guy's greedy decision to try to make this cure early and charge a crap ton of money for it, and it ended up causing a worldwide virus. You pay for your mistakes, buddy. Also, the Bright Eyes name does later come in the franchise. Well, in Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, you realize that Caesar has a son named Blue Eyes. Well, that was actually named after the late Bright Eyes who died in this movie. Now, just give my quick review on the movie. I personally love this movie. I have a big spot for it, and it has some really emotional, powerful moments. But I do have a few negatives here and there with the film, but it really just comes down to the human characters, with them being the least strongest out of the whole trilogy as far as the human characters go. And they're really hard to bond and connect with. And I guess that's the purpose of them, for you to hate them, but I do have to say this movie does a really good job of getting you on the side of the apes, setting up the Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, setting up how the apes will take over. Also, I want to go ahead and give a shout out to Andy Serkis for the voice and the mocap of Caesar. You played the best performance of Caesar. Like, I swear you just do, and that can't be beat. Overall, I give this movie an 8 out of 10, but that is not the same for Dawn of the Planet of the Apes and Rise of the Planet and War of the Planet of the Apes, which I'm just going to tell you right now, they're both 10s. Spoiler alert, those movies are freaking fantastic, and I cannot wait to get to those of the Planet of the Apes rewatch, part 2 and part 3. I will see you all later. I'm going to go watch Dawn of the Planet of the Apes now.